I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Okay, let's talk about it, because you know what was not on my post-election bingo card? Nowhere near that bingo card was a national Down With Webster moment, and that is the moment that we are having right now. The band performed at the Liberal Victory Party on Monday night, and if you've seen the videos, you can tell Mark Carney, Prime Minister Mark Carney, is like not a casual fan. This is someone who goes way back. This is someone who seems to be just all up in the band's discography. And I just like love watching the videos of that day. He was wearing a custom band hoodie. He's got the band's hands, the hand signals down. He was throwing up the W's, and it was something to see for me. Which might lead you to wonder, how did the Prime Minister come to cross paths with Down With Webster? How does that even happen? Maybe you're not wondering this. I am wondering this, and I can do something about it. So Tyler Arms from Down With Webster is here. How's it going, Tyler? Welcome to the show.
It's going great, man. Thanks so much for having me.
That's the hoodie, right? Like, that's the one.
This is it.
That's the one that Mark Carney was wearing that day.
This is the one right here.
It's Down With the Webster logo. It says PM on top of it. Behind it says Carney 24. Is this yours? Is this his? What's the deal? So do you make merch? Can I get one? What's happening?
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of questions. So we literally just put this on our site right now on our Instagram. So we are making this right now as of about 30 seconds ago. I pressed upload before I jumped on with you.
Yeah.
Really what happened was, last week sometime, Mr. Carney got in touch with us and asked if we could leave the date open to come and perform and hold it. And then we found out a few days later we were going to in fact come and perform. And, being the nice Canadians that we are, you don't show up without a gift. So I called my buddy that makes hoodies, and I'm like, we need hoodies like immediately. He's like, they're going to be very expensive to rush them in 2 days. And I was like, it's worth it. No problem.
Yeah.
He made a medium, large, and an XL. One of them got totally ruined in the process. Like the dye ran all over them.
Yeah.
So when the package showed up in Ottawa, he's like, good news, bad news. They're there in Ottawa. You only have two, and hopefully one of them fits the Prime Minister. So I'm wearing the larger one that does not fit the Prime Minister. And then, Mark has the other one.
You know what? It fit fine. It seems like that seems to have worked out okay.
I did some Googling. I was like, he's 5'9". He looks like he's in shape. Apparently he runs a lot. So I'm like, the medium, it's going to work.
I love the idea that the idea of you looking up being like, well, what would fit Mark Carney? And then that's how it ended up here. Okay, I want to run through this for a moment, because I hear that, you met Mark Carney for the first time in the green room on Monday night before you guys performed. Like, how do you know that he's a real fan and this didn't come together because some campaign staffer Googled a song about winning from someone who's Canadian?
Totally. Good question. I know that like over a decade ago, could have been almost 15 years ago, when we were first starting to tour, I remember reading press that somebody in politics was a big fan. And I remember my mom at the time being like, oh, maybe he has kids. And then was like, no, he's a fan. So the way that I know that he's a diehard fan is because the correspondence we had prior to showing up, like the list of songs they wanted us to play, there were like some deep cuts on there. And it wasn't just like, it was clear that he was super involved in that process. And then obviously, there's a video we posted backstage where he's rapping word for word, bar for bar with the band, and he's not missing any of them. Like, this is something that like he listens to in the car to get pumped up, listens to at rallies. Like, it's a very sincere thing, which really made the choice for us so obvious, obviously so humbling to be able to be called upon by your country and to perform at something like this. It's not something that we ever thought was going to happen with these songs we made when we were kids in my dad's garage. But it was a no-brainer. It was, like you said, it wasn't just a record label trying to insert their artist for press, and it wasn't, a flavor of the week thing. It was a real connection that he had to us.
Tyler, everything that you just said is truly extraordinary, and I want to dwell on like 8 different things that you just mentioned. First of all, the notion that you would tell me that like Mark Carney, in the middle of running a national campaign to be the next prime minister, took, I don't know, 2.5 to 3 minutes, I assume, to say, hey, when Webster shows up, the songs that I want them to play, I want them to hit parade music, because that's what I'm looking to hear. I would like to hear the words, I've never been in love, I've only been in clubs, at my victory party. That's extraordinary to me. But also,
it's so cool.
But can I just say what's not lost on me is he would have been listening to Time to Win Volume 1 during the financial crisis, when he was the governor of the
That
Bank of
that part.
Canada. Does
Yeah.
that cross your mind?
Yeah, it's a testament to music. And you know what? Like you can think you know where your music's going to end up, but when
Yeah.
you release it into the world, yeah, it's going to have a life of its own.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. It's amazing.
What was it like having Mark Carney rap the band's words back to you when you guys were backstage?
I was just super impressed with his timing and his delivery. Like, I want to know what else he listens to
Yeah.
because clearly, like, if you like our band, you like a lot of music because
Yeah.
our band is such a mashup of so many genres.
Yeah.
But no, it was so cool. I wanted to stay longer and do it for 15 more minutes, but he had, Secret Service with him and more important things to do.
The range is surprising to me because I watched the Nardwuar interview like a lot of people did, and
Yeah,
and to go from the Clash to Down with Webster, that suggests quite a range in musical experience. You know what I mean?
certainly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we see these cell phone videos from the night that are sort of all over social media. I want
yeah,
to play another moment from the victory party.
sure.
Listen, at this point, it's what? It's 1:30 in the morning. You're on the
It's
stage.
2:30 at this point,
Okay.
and like
Sure.
it's a long day
Yeah.
because like we have to go in at 11 a.m. and sound check,
Yeah.
and then it's like now you have 11 to 11, 12 hours.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of sitting around and wait. And generally, we're pretty good with that part. But then when you're watching a big screen in your dressing room of all the polls and the ups and the downs,
You don't
and,
even know if it's going to
Mark's.
be a victory at that point because you
I don't
don't know
know.
how it's going to go.
I'm not great at reading what these screens are saying. There's a lot of drama going on. It's happening. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And he had an amazing team of like young interns or campaign people coming in and out.
Yeah.
And we're trying to like gauge the looks on their faces. And like every 2 seconds, they're getting interrupted and looking at their phone, and it's like very intense, whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, we were just trying to be like, what's going to be is going to be. And we're here to support and play some music and make people feel good, win or lose.
Okay, but then take me all the way to the end of the night. We're talking 2:30 in the morning, and then everyone is
Yeah.
dancing on the dance floor. What's the
Yeah.
vibe? What does that look like?
What does that look like? It's a different kind of a
Including the
show
prime
for
minister, I
us.
should say. So yeah,
Certainly, yeah.
yeah, it is a
It's
different kind of
it's
show for you.
certainly different. I mean, I
Yeah.
think something that made us feel really good early on is during the sound check, there were maybe 14 people from his campaign there, and they raged like they were at a full concert for the 5-song sound check we did.
Yeah.
So we were like, if this is indicative at all of what it's going to be like when there's 500 or 1,000 people, this is going to be awesome. And it was awesome.
I just want, man, what was the set list that Mark Carney was he like play Miracle Mile? That's the one I
Yeah,
want to
so
hear. Hit me.
so the order of it was Time to Win, Your Man, Chills, Big Wheels, Woe Is Me, and then we had a couple extra for an encore. But since everything was delayed at least like an hour and a half or 2 hours from the original schedule,
Yeah.
we got a text 5 minutes before on stage from his campaign being like, are you guys okay with limiting this to 3 songs? Like, we're so over time, curfews, there's an after party planned, the press has to get out of here.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, we can do 3. And then they sent us what 3. So like they were always so specific about which ones he wanted to rock out to.
That's honestly, that's genuinely amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, when I think about the number of people who would have been in that room, we're talking about serious people who just helped run a national campaign. They're just one government.
Yeah.
And then there is this switch. There's a switch where like you guys go on and it's the moment of the night when everybody's sort of like letting off steam. There's the dancing, there's the singing. You see
Yeah.
those videos emerge. I don't know if you could see him from the stage because he was wearing the same sweater that you're wearing.
Yeah.
So walk me through like as you kind of like notice the vibe that they're putting off. How does that change how you see those people?
I think like what you see is people just celebrating a lot of hard work. Obviously, people celebrating their country. When I saw from the stage him wearing the hoodie, I was like, that's amazing. He's already wearing the hoodie. But like nothing connected in terms of like, what does that mean? And obviously, I saw, there's these huge stations set up with all the different news outlets and giant cameras. But that didn't click for me that like, oh, that's going to be in a photo tomorrow, or that's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel or the Wall Street Journal or
Yeah.
New York Times. Like I'm seeing Mark rocking out wearing this hoodie now in every news outlet that the band in 20 years has never been on, you know?
The reality is that like politicians all the time receive presents from all different types of people.
Sure,
There's every reasonable sense to think that he delivers his victory speech and then he continues to be in a suit and tie because he just won office. But
sure.
no, it's not
No.
that long later that he's in that same hoodie that you're wearing, and
Yeah,
that's
and
quite striking.
it's crazy. And like, the press could have gone with so many different moments from that night. They could have done him on the podium wearing a suit, and they were like, nope, we're having him doing a rap wearing this, going nuts in the crowd. It's so awesome.
I think it's because Mark Carney's entire campaign has been this campaign on positioned on him being the guy to handle the country through a crisis, being the serious sort of politician who's
Yeah.
relying on his expertise. He's an Oxford PhD. And so when you see the images that almost feel like the inversion, right? The idea of like, here's
Right.
his moment to be not an Oxford PhD guy, but just a
Yeah.
fan of Down With Webster, rapping all the words to Woe Is Me, you know?
Yeah. I think that like luckily this is just like, you know, a fraction of what he's about to go do and the kind of stuff that he's going to tackle, certainly I don't think that those clips are indicative about what the next year is going to look like for him, but I
Yeah.
think everyone, loves the idea that even people at the highest level, no matter what your education is music and people are allowed to let loose and rock out to their favorite band.
But also, Tyler, you played a lot of shows. You played
Mhm.
gigantic festivals. What can you tell about a person by the way that they, dance in front of a crowd?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, certain places we've played, you'll have a much tougher crowd. Like playing New York City, it doesn't matter if someone's your biggest fan. They're gonna sit there like this,
Crossed
and you're
arms.
you're
Yeah.
gonna
Okay.
you're gonna they're gonna be
Yeah.
front row. So you're gonna have seen them the entire night, and you're like, why
They're
would
giving you
somebody
nothing.
nothing? And like, why would someone be front row in line early to give me nothing? But then you meet them after and they're like, that was the best show I've seen. I've seen you 10 times. So sometimes you just have no clue
Yeah.
how someone shows you how they're feeling music. And I'm like, and my girlfriend said to me, we've gone to concerts and she's like, you look like you hate this right now. And I'm like, no, no, I love this right now. But like my brain's going everywhere. I'm looking at their equipment, their pedals. I'm listening to this.
Yeah.
So everyone shows it differently. That night, I think everyone was just so happy that, they had won and that was public. And it was just like full on celebration, which is the best when you're on stage because then you don't have the self-conscious things looking at people being like, is the sound off? Is this off?
Uh,
Makes my job easier.
Tyler, I'll tell you this. It's a secret, which is that I don't love Toronto concert crowds because Toronto concert crowds tend to be
Yeah.
the thing you're talking about, which
It's
is
it's it's on par with New York in terms
Yeah.
of it being
just
they give you very little.
arms crossed, just like the physical movement, even the facial engagement is not that much.
Sure.
And then you talk to somebody, go like, "Oh, sorry, I'm having like an inward transformative experience." I'm like, "Can you show it somewhere on your body? Because
Somewhere.
we
Yeah.
are sharing space here."
Yeah.
But then when I think about that idea, in my head, and maybe this is my own bias, but in my head I kind of go, I assume an Ottawa crowd would be twice as much that, and I assume a politician crowd would be way more than that. But
Sure.
then the moment comes and it's in that hoodie, and
Yeah.
also at the same time you are seeing someone truly let loose on the dance floor. For just a moment, that video is like,
Yeah.
this rearranges how I think about what politicians, do on
More
their off time.
people need to follow Mark Carney's steps in terms of like if you're feeling it, show it. And like it's the best. It's completely uninhibited. It was just
Well,
visceral.
Tyler, I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for being here. This has been tremendous. I'm going to get that hoodie. I'm
Yeah.
going to do it. So thank you. I really
Let's
appreciate
go.
it.
It's available now on our Instagram. Check it out.
Thank you, sir. Tyler Arms plays bass and keys with Down With Webster. The band played Mark Carney's Victory Party.